G'day, welcome to Lesson 2 of Wycliffe Australia's Story of the Bible online comprehensive course. No doubt you remember that my name is Josh Bartlett and I'm your presenter for Lessons 1 to 5. During this Story of the Bible online comprehensive course, you're going to craft and tell 6 different Bible stories. Now, the order that you're going to learn these stories is not actually chronological order. Instead, you're going to start with the easiest of these stories first and work through the course until we get to the most difficult one. The first story that you're going to craft in this course is the story which you heard last lesson, the story of Jesus healing a paralysed man. Homework assignment A will help you prepare to craft this story. When we craft a Bible story, we want to do our best to understand what actually happened. This means that if the story is recorded in more than one place in the Bible, it's really helpful to read all of them before crafting the story. So suppose you wanted to craft the story of Saul's conversion. The initial account of this event is found in Acts chapter 9, but as you keep reading Acts, you'll find that Paul retold these events first in chapter 22, then again in chapter 26. He then refers to his conversion again in Galatians chapter 1. To really understand the story, we need to study each of these passages in turn. Now, the story of Jesus healing the paralysed man, which you're going to be crafting first, can be found in all 3 synoptic gospels, in Matthew chapter 9, Mark chapter 2 and Luke chapter 5. So it's helpful to study all 3 passages. To help you with this, you might like to print out the passages from a website like BibleGateway.com so that you can write on them. You might even like to copy and paste the passage into a word processor before you print it so that you can set the double line spacing just to give you more room to write. This can be a useful exercise for you as you craft future stories as well. Now, this approach of comparing the different Bible passages helps us with what we call exegesis. Exegesis means working out what a Bible passage means in its original context. Homework assignment B has some comments on exegesis and Bible storytelling. Exegesis is important for Bible storying because if we as storytellers don't understand the meaning of a Bible passage, it's very easy for incorrect interpretations to creep into the stories that we're crafting. One way to help us understand a passage well is to use 2 very different Bible translations. One that's more literal, such as the ESV or NRSV, and one that's more idiomatic, like the NLT or the Good News Bible. So as you begin crafting the story of Jesus healing the paralysed man, you'll need to take 2 different Bible translations in those 3 biblical accounts of the event and identify every action that happens in the passage. Now, this is all part of your homework assignment B for this lesson. Sometimes when you're crafting a Bible story, you come across a question or dilemma that you can't work out just by comparing Bible translations and parallel accounts. If that happens, you might need to do some further research in Bible commentaries. Remember, good exegesis is very important for an accurate Bible story. Now, homework assignment C brings us back once more to the story of Jesus healing the paralysed man. Every Bible story is like a gold mine. The more that you dig, the more you will discover. So, we're going to hear the story again in just a second. And this time, the question we're going to reflect on is, what do you learn about people in the story? It's often helpful to start by asking, who are the people in this story? Then we can reflect on what we learn about each person or group of people. So let's hear the story again now.
One day, Jesus was teaching in a house, and so many people wanted to hear what Jesus wanted to say that it was standing room only. Inside the house were some religious leaders, and they were listening to what Jesus was teaching. Outside the house were 4 men, and their friend was paralysed, and they wanted to take him in to see Jesus, but they couldn't get in through the door. So they took him round the side of the house, climbed up the stairs onto the flat roof. Then they dug a hole in the roof, got some rope, and they lowered their friend right down in front of Jesus. Jesus, seeing how much they trusted him, said to the man, "Your wrongdoings are forgiven." The religious leaders said, "Only God can forgive wrongdoings. Who does this man think he is? Does he think he is God?" Jesus knew what they were thinking and said, Which is easier, to say your wrongdoings are forgiven, or stand up, pick up your mat and walk? But so that you know I have authority to forgive wrongdoings, he turned to the man and said, get up, pick up your mat and walk. And so the man got up, picked up his mat and walked out praising God. And everybody in the house was amazed and said, praise God, we've never seen anything like this.
Now that you've heard the story again, have a look at homework assignment C to answer the question, what do you learn about people in this story? Well, that leaves one more homework assignment. Homework assignment D. Homework assignment D helps you reflect on the experiences of two Bible storytellers from previous centuries. I'll leave you to find out more for yourself. I'm signing off now, but don't stop watching. In a moment you're going to hear another testimony from an experienced Bible storyteller. Until next time, God bless.
Hi, my name is Malcolm. One day a friend of mine, Keith, and I were in Singapore at a bus stop waiting to go to the airport. There was a lady there and she was reading a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So Keith asked her, what are you doing reading that book? She said, I'm reading it because I have to study it for an assignment I'm doing to get my qualifications. And then she said to us, well, what are you doing here? And Keith said, we're here teaching people how to take a Bible story and craft a good story from that story. He said, my friend here, Malcolm, he can tell a good story in 1 minute. Do you want to hear it? She said, sure, I'm a Sikh, she said, but I'll listen to it. So I told her the story of Jesus healing the paralytic man in 1 minute. And we chatted a bit more about it. And then Keith said to her, it's terrible what's happened in the US with the Sikh community there being treated so badly. And then he said, you know what? Your Sikh religion doesn't have a story about creation. So he offered to tell her the story. So he told her, Genesis chapter 1. And as he'd finished that story, our bus arrived. And we said, we have to go now. She said, no, I'll come on the bus with you to hear more Bible stories. So we got on the bus. And I told her how God had made a beautiful garden for Adam and Eve and how they messed it up. They ate the forbidden fruit and God tossed them out. Then again, Malcolm told the story of how Jesus healed the crippled man at the pool of Bethesda. But she wanted to hear more about the episode of Genesis story. So Keith told her the story of Cain and Abel, ending with Cain's punishment. Once again, Keith and I were reminded that Bible storytelling is a natural, inoffensive way to tell the gospel, leaving the hero wondering what happens next. Now, there are oodles of people out there who are only too willing to hear a Bible story or a gospel, if only we would be willing to tell them.